Welcome to Love Being American, where you can catch up on the major events and political issues that are happening around the country. Now introducing two millennials who love being American, your hosts, Andrew and Henry.
Welcome, folks, to episode number 13 of Love Being American. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come join us. In this episode, we're going to do a recap of the results from the New Hampshire primary and discuss the illusion of choice and why America deserves more choices when it comes to our democracy.
We're also going to be going over who recently dropped out of the presidential race and provide you with an update on the Oregon Standoff. And make sure you tune into the end of our show as we discuss this week's really big schmuck of the week. But before we dive into that, we're drinking some beer.
Andrew was kind enough to get me a Budweiser. The reason being is we all saw Peyton Manning and his support of Budweiser after the Super Bowl. And if you recall from last week's episode, Andrew and I had a little bit of a bet going on who would win the Super Bowl. And right here, winning.
So I'm on air handing over $20 to Henry.
It's a beautiful thing.
So there you go. You won fair and square. And
that's right.
I got him a Budweiser to commemorate his win.
We should have played the odds. I tried to get odds on that game, the 8-1 odds.
No,
you said
no. We were doing that. Cheers to your Budweiser. I figured Payne Manning, might
Cheers
as well.
to you, the sheriff. Like I said, riding off into the sunset.
You think he's going to retire?
What did he do? He can't even play.
Yeah,
He played awful. He was god-awful.
They're working the run game.
They're working the defense. Von Miller
that guy was a beast.
Won that game.
Yeah,
him and
crazy.
DeMarcus Ware destroyed Cam Newton. You took out, like I said, you take out Cam Newton, you take out the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, you were right about that. I kind of doubted you,
did.
but yeah, you were right. It was a defensive game, but I thought it was fun to watch.
I love defensive games.
Yeah, because you never get to see that really. Not in the NFL.
It's always blowouts and great thing.
It's good. And then I'm drinking a Longboard Island Lager by Kona Brewing Company. Lager. I like this beer. I drink it a lot. It's very smooth. It's tasty.
Refreshing.
Yeah, it is a refreshing beer. Reminds me of Hawaii.
Aloha.
So let's jump into recap of what happened in New Hampshire. So as predicted, Trump
we won this. We did it right this time. We got the prediction right.
We got the prediction right. Trump won by a pretty big margin. He won 35.5% of the vote. And then the next person after that was Kasich with 15.8%, which is cool. I actually really like Kasich. I think he'd make a pretty good president.
I have a lot of people showing some support recently for him. They do enjoy his...
Yeah, it's because he's done a lot. He's done a lot in the private sector, and he's ran a state. Cruz has never run a state. Rubio hasn't run a state. I think running a state is a good prerequisite.
Critical. We've seen him, like, a lot of senators been winning. They have no experience physically governing a state. They know how to run the campaign.
Well, they're not even running the campaign.
Well, that's true.
I don't know. I'm just not a fan of senators becoming presidents. And then Rubio did horrible in the debate, so he ended up finishing in 5th place with 10.6%.
Dude, he was like a drone. Just
yeah,
a
that was weird.
Reading from a script.
I love how Christie called him out on it.
Right?
I feel like Christie, the only reason he got in this campaign was like take candidates out.
Yeah, just Rubio one by one. He's just the big fat kid at the playground. Talking trash to everybody, making fun of people, calling them out on their stuff.
The New Jersey badass. And on the Democratic side, Sanders kicked Clinton's ass, which was expected. But I mean, this was a big margin.
But handedly. If you look at between the Iowa caucus and now, she's got to rethink her strategy because she's had a little bit of a bruised ego after this because it was very possible she could have lost Iowa.
Yes.
And then she handedly lost New Hampshire. Now, I think it's a little bit biased New Hampshire, but still, she did not perform like she should have.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders won the vote 60.4% to Clinton's 38%. And if you're wondering why that doesn't add up to 100, it's because 0.6% voted for Martin O'Malley. Like, I don't even know why you'd waste your vote on that.
Right.
But fun fact.
You vote for yourself, so.
Yeah, because that means something. Don't even get me started on that. Fun fact, Bernie's margin of victory was the highest for a non-incumbent candidate in any state since JFK. So that's interesting.
Wow. Yeah, and JFK won.
He did.
He came out of the woodwork to beat Nixon, so maybe this is Bernie's.
Maybe it's his time. So let's get into the next little segment. I want to call this Another One Bites the Dust. And another one, and another one. Yeah, so
another one bites the dust.
Yeah, we can sing. So Christie and Fiorina dropped out of the race, so they're gone. So
Adios,
they just bit
muchachos.
the dust. And we're also going to get a little Oregon Standoff update.
Update.
Today, a couple of them bit the dust. And the best one was, God, what's his name?
Cliven?
Yeah, Cleveland Bundy, the father of the Bundy brothers.
Why did he come?
So
it's over.
I know. So he decides to roll up in Portland today to go show support for the remaining 4 people who were still staking out. And the second he lands in Portland, he gets arrested.
For conspiracy to interfere with a federal officer.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's so funny. So he went to jail. And that's the conspiracy to interfere with a federal officer is the same charge his other 2 sons were. And then the other 4 people who are in there.
What are they holding out for?
No, they're done. They gave up. They gave up.
Wait, was it? I was far closer to February 1st.
Yeah, I was listening to the last 3 of them left. Then there was one dude there today, right?
One.
And he's screaming about stuff. You could listen to the standoff live, and I was listening to it, and he's like yelling about abortion, gun rights, some Obama's a terrorist, saying all this crazy stuff. And then the negotiators are so funny. They're like trying to negotiate with this guy. It was like the most hick negotiation I've ever heard. He's like, just come out and we'll get you a pizza. Literally, they said that. Like, are you hungry? We'll get you a pizza. Just come out, dude. We'll get you a free pizza. I'm like,
we'll get you a free pizza,
you know what?
And a pair of handcuffs.
And I think that got him because he was gone after that. He was craving some pepperoni pizza. So
who knows what he's been eating?
Yeah.
Bark and lint for the past month.
So that's interesting. And one more thing before we move on to the illusion of choice. Gilmore is still in the presidential race. Now, I'm not sure who Gilmore is.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that same.
Or why you're still in the race. My only guess is he's the father of the Gilmore Girls.
Hey, that's a very popular show.
God, they talk so fast on that show. I can't stand it.
Hey, you're still in the race. Why are you still in the race?
I'm still in the race because I believe I can win. If everyone who listens to this show writes in my name, I have a shot.
100%.
But
I would not vote for you.
That's fine, man. It's all right. I don't take it personally.
It's okay.
All right, so let's shift topics. We're going to be talking about the illusion of choice because I think it's something that we should talk about with American politics, you know? It's basically, you want to tell them, Henry?
Yeah, I've been a big proponent of this for years. If we look at what our country started from to what it's become now, I mean, back in the colony days, we might have had like 10 million people voting for one president to govern our best interests. We have over 320 million people and one man to make those decisions for us. We have 2 Democratic nominees who are supposed to represent the best views of essentially half the people of the United States, and then maybe 5 somewhat contenders on the Republican side. So 7 people are representing the views and perspective of 320 million. Doesn't seem to add up proportionately. So obviously there's going to be, I would say, some bias and some lying to garnish those votes because you're trying to get as many votes as you can. So you're going to say some things that greater percentage of the population. That's why you see Obama, preaching change, preaching this, preaching that. And then he may not have exactly followed through on all of his promises.
No, but to bring something up, like the country isn't controlled just by the president, right? That's what we have congressmen for. That's what we have senators for. Right. We have the branches in place. So he doesn't control everything.
Well, he doesn't have absolute authority.
No.
There's a checks and balances to make sure he doesn't, but still is the single most powerful man on the planet.
And I think that what's most frustrating, and you'll see it now, and we'll talk about it in a second, is it seems like when we look at who's running for president, that this really the best and brightest that America has to offer?
Everybody in this country, these are our choices. I'm sorry, whether you're a Trump fan or not, but you don't think there's somebody better than Trump out there?
Yeah, and so it's why Rubio? Do these same people, almost the exact same people, or they seem like the same people, start floating to the top? It's like that South Park episode. If you guys
watch South Park,
it's a great episode. It kind of explains this. But
Andrew and I are huge fans of South Park.
The kids in South Park, for those who don't know, it's a story based on 5 kids in a 4th grade class, and they have to choose a new school mascot, and the school mascot is either a douche or a turd sandwich. And one of the kids doesn't want to vote because both choices suck. Then, he gets peer pressure into voting. P.
The
Diddy's
whole
Rock the Vote
school,
comes
it's
in.
a tie vote. The whole school
It
says
comes
you
down to
have to
him.
vote.
And his dad gives him gives him a prep talk, and he says, son, it's something you have to realize. All votes come down to a douche and a turd sandwich. No matter what you look at, it's always between a douche and a turd sandwich. And I was sitting there thinking this is stupid, but then I'm like, no, it's actually not.
It's brilliant.
It's really true in some cases. So
And that's what we're leaving ourselves with. A douche and a turd sandwich.
So,
imagine if it's Hillary and Trump, if that's who's competing.
Yeah.
We know who the douche and the turd sandwich are.
So we'll break it down by kind of why it seems to almost get this way. And I think the first thing that stems from, this is really obvious on the Democratic side this time, not so much on the Republican. It comes down to political party favoritism. And it's really obvious that Clinton is favored by the National
Democrats
Committee.
Love Clinton. They always have. And it kind of goes back to, I
They
think we
love the
talked
Clinton
about,
brand.
Absolutely. And it kind of goes back, I believe you said this on the past episode. If you look historically, whoever so Obama past 2 elections pretty much was running against Hillary. So when the president wins, whoever gets decided president, whoever was the next runner up, they've already marketed she's been the runner up. So she's been marketed, the media has portrayed her as the future.
Yes, totally. And the DNC has even, rigged the debate schedule to limit Sanders' exposure. And now because, they don't want to expose because Clinton's just the front runner.
Clinton's the woman. She's the choice.
Yeah, but now since he's gaining on her and they see that Clinton performs well in debates, they're like, oh, let's add more debates. Come on, let's keep debating. It's really obvious.
Sanders probably won the popular vote in Iowa, but the party elite there are refusing to release popular vote totals. Regardless, it's a perversion of democracy that they haven't been released. If it was, the margin of victory was so narrow, literally decided by chance, a coin toss. It's easily plausible that Bernie won Iowa. But that's not something that the DNC wants.
No, they want to limit his exposure as much as possible because they're scared that their golden child, Hillary, might get upset by this Democratic socialist.
Because he doesn't represent what the DNC wants to be represented.
No, and it's also, they could lose the election easily because it's going to be really hard for Bernie Sanders, I think, to win a national election. Another thing, the Republican Party doesn't really have superdelegates, but the Democratic Party does. And I think,
what is superdelegate?
Okay, what a superdelegate is there's regular delegates, and that's based on the total votes in each state. So kind of like the popular vote, right? That's the reason why you have primaries and caucuses, is because those all decide where each of those delegates are going to go. A superdelegate is not decided by each state's popular vote. Rather, it's decided by individuals who are given a vote by the Democratic Party. So they're pretty much free to choose who they want to vote for at the national convention, regardless of how the vote went in their home state. In the Democratic Party, there's 712 superdelegates, and there's 4,051 normal delegates. It's really interesting that Hillary Clinton, and this shows how favorited she is, as of right now, she has 344 superdelegates, and Bernie has 14.
And each superdelegate, their vote is it's not one vote. It's worth 10,000 votes.
Yeah, it's the equivalent. In 2008, one superdelegate was worth around 10,000 votes, and it's predicted to be the same in 2016. Now, will these superdelegates ever go against the popular vote of the Democratic Party? Probably not.
But they can.
Ultimately, they could if they wanted to, and if Bernie wins delegate-wise with the state votes, these superdelegates could come in and push it all towards Hillary, and she could easily win.
And then she's the front runner for the Democratic Party.
Exactly. I don't think that would ever happen because they'd be shooting themselves in the foot because they'd be destroying their party and pissing off a lot of people. I don't think that would actually happen, but I think it's a big statement when 344 superdelegates are already with Hillary Clinton and Bernie has 14.
If you did a popular vote around the whole country, and that's not proportionate to who would vote for Hillary and who would vote for Bernie.
No, probably not. That's really interesting, and that's a really good example of party favoritism. You don't see it as much on the Republican side, in this election, but if you looked in past elections, it's totally there.
Yeah, absolutely. Trump right now he's a freak. He's an anomaly.
Yeah.
This I think is almost unprecedented that somebody of his stature.
It's interesting because technically this is how it should be, right? So you have Donald Trump, Carly Fiorina, and Ben Carson, all from the private sector.
Right.
And that
Three in one election.
In private sector, people who come from the private sector usually don't do well in races. They're usually not perceived well. They usually don't win. But here we see Trump winning. Obviously, Ben Carson and Fiorina not doing good.
But I think it represents just how tired the population is of these puppets.
Yes.
Essentially. That they're the same people. They're the same douche, the same turd sandwich that have been voted and been brought to the spotlight over and over again. They want something different. Now, I'm not saying these people are angels, okay? We have a douche, we have a turd sandwich, and then we have an arrogant asshole. You know, I don't think it's necessarily the best choice, but I think it's a difference in the public opinion in the way politics is going.
This is how our Constitution was founded. It was supposed to be regular people running for these offices.
Right.
Your doctor down the street, your businessman. You're supposed
Whoever's
to have
the most qualified person to run, whether you are a doctor or not.
Yeah.
You know, whether you are a businessman, I don't care if you're the garbage man. If you can run a country, bring it.
I don't know if a garbage man could run a country.
I don't know either.
But I get what you're saying. It's not supposed to be political or career politicians.
It was not supposed to be a career to be a politician. That's not. It was like a side thing. This is something, it was a duty, a service that you did for your country.
I mean, how many politicians are in our country that graduated from law school, became a lawyer for 3 years, worked on a campaign, got elected as a senator or a congressman? Then, I mean, it's
that's all they know.
The same
that's all
track.
they know.
So that kind of party favoritism and that track, I think, is one way where it's, you know, you may think you have a choice, but there's other obstacles and other people kind of trying to limit your choices. And I think
technically Andrew should be able to run for president and have the same say as everybody else.
But because I wouldn't be backed by the Republican Party, if I were to run
Party,
as a
or the
Republican,
Democratic Party,
you know, it wouldn't work. And I think another thing that's huge is the media favoritism. We're looking at a chart right now, and this is big, and I don't think people realize how much the media has a huge impact on how well you're perceived.
I mean, think about it. You have
much
Fox
people
News.
are likely to vote for you.
Everybody associates Fox News with Republicans, CNN with Democrats. So there already is media favoritism for political parties.
Mm-hmm. And there's a direct correlation between how much you're mentioned in the media and how much you go up in the polls. When you look at Clinton, Sanders, and O'Malley, Clinton's been mentioned in the media far more times than Sanders or O'Malley.
Almost double.
Almost
double than Sanders. O'Malley, like, I don't even know why they're on the chart, but...
Yeah, so her poll numbers are higher. And it doesn't even matter if it's good or bad. Her just being in the news gives her that exposure. And if you look on the Republican side, Trump has been mentioned in the media far more than any other candidate. And his poll numbers are higher as a result. And I was looking at studies beyond this little graph we're looking at. We'll post in the show notes. But every time Trump was on the air, his poll numbers would go up, and then they'd get on TV and his poll numbers would go up. So he kept saying crazy stuff to get on TV.
Because he would get on TV. They would mention his name. Whether it's good or bad, no publicity is bad publicity.
The content didn't matter. This is something I want to bring to light because it kind of has the same effect. When you hear things over and over again or exposes something more, you start to like it more. So when you first hear a song on the radio, and this is a great example, you might think it sucks. So you're listening to the song, you're like, man, this is horrible, and you turn the channel or whatever. But you become lazy after time, and you hear the song, and then you just listen to it. It's the radio, so they love to play it over and over again.
Next thing you know, you're singing to Call Me Maybe.
Yeah, you like the song.
Over again. The first time I heard that song, I'm like, oh, this is stupid. I could literally repeat that song by heart. No shame. But just you almost become desensitized, and then it has a catchy rhythm, and then next thing you know, you love it.
It sucks you in, right? And the
like
more you're exposed
brainwashed
to it, the more you start to like it. And that totally happens. And there's a pattern of, media mentions and a rise in poll numbers. Someone did a study, and this goes back all the way to the 1980s.
And now when you have social
media.
And
that's right with TV and stuff, right?
Absolutely.
That's right, the birth of TV.
The 60s was like 50s. Color TV, 60s.
Oh, yeah, color TV. Color TV is all that matters. Nobody watched that black and white shit.
But today, especially with And I think it's changing a little bit with social media. It's giving more people a chance, a platform to stand out.
Exactly, which is
why we're seeing Bernie Sanders, Trump, Ben Carson, all these people who would never have had a shot suddenly
because now
rising
they can,
through the ranks.
I'm in marketing, so you can get your message out to whomever you want on a limited budget. You can send ads directly to people in certain states without having to go through the media or asking for airtime. If Fox News or CNN isn't having you on to talk about your position, you can sit down in a chair, record your message, and post it on the internet, and you can even advertise it to everyone you want to see it. So it's giving more people a chance. So while this illusion of choice is still very relevant today, it's becoming better.
Yeah, the platform is bigger. There's more of a chance. It's cheaper, essentially, to advertise yourself. That's what's giving Bernie a chance, because you don't see him getting super PAC contributions. You don't see that's why
that's a campaign run by the people.
Right. That's why you've seen in these past elections, Obama just raising whoever raised the most money was getting the vote, because they had the most money to advertise, the most money to spend on themselves.
Yeah,
and then now
they were a good story.
Now you have somebody like Bernie who raised like half of what Clinton has, but he's getting more traction, more people.
Yeah, it's super effective. And I don't really think that there's anyone in the media who's saying, hey, Cruz went up by 5 points, so let's cover him 5% more in the polls. I don't think it's like that. I think it's this really weird trifecta of everything that's going on the campaign trail, the poll result numbers, and the media attention, and they all kind of like circumnavigate together.
It's like a river. Nobody's going to swim upstream. But if that river starts raging, you're going down, and you're just head down that river, you're going fast, all of a sudden more people are going to jump on your boat. They want to go with you.
Yeah, they want to cover the story if you're interesting. It's
because that's money in their pockets.
Yeah.
Marco Rubio went up 10 points. People are starting to realize that I'm going to write an article on him and his policy, good or bad, because people are now going to listen.
Yeah, and Trump's an excellent point of that, right? Trump says crazy stuff, and who knows if he actually means all the stuff he says.
Right.
But he says it because everyone goes,
Whoa. Wait, what did Trump say?
And then
let's read that. Let's read that again. Even when you have Fox News talking trash on him, that's supposedly a Republican media-based centered. He still says these crazy things. He still says he's not going to go on a debate because somebody at Fox News is judgmental of him. But people want to hear it. People love it. What is he going to do next? And it's so outlandish. That's why he's getting the opportunity.
He, in a sense, controls the media on the Republican side, like Barack Obama did during the last election, right? Everyone wanted to cover what Barack Obama was doing, saying
he's the first black man become president. Whoa, mind blown. Oh my gosh.
Media sensation. And that's why he got so much airtime. And it ultimately
because people wanted to see it.
Win.
100%.
The same phenomenon is happening with Trump. It's really interesting to see that. So it's a combination of, sure, you might think you have a vote for a candidate, right?
And you do. You absolutely do. But your selection is very limited. And like the song, you hear it enough times, you might start to like it.
And it's being limited by the media and the party politics. But
because think about it. You have two political parties to vote for.
Which is insane that there's only two.
Only two. You look at Europe or Israel, they have like dozens of parties, and you have to create coalitions and do all this. You have two choices to vote for. Those are your two options. You either left or right. There's no middle ground in between.
And I don't like that, to be honest. I don't like these two options.
That's really the illusion of choice right there. You may have 5 people in the Republican Party right now that have a shot, and 2 in the Democratic Party, so 7 total, right? No, you have 2. You have a Democrat and you have a Republican. That's who everybody has to vote for.
Yeah, that's totally how it is. And I kind of wish that there were more political parties that had a chance.
Yeah, a different model to represent, more people's views.
Because
Agreed.
I think that the Republican Party is becoming more diverse. I don't think one party can cover all these different opinions.
The world is becoming more diverse.
Yes.
And we're seeing that with the choice in leaders. And just crazy. We got crazy Trump over here, and then George Bush or Jeb Bush.
Yeah, it's
and then you have
different.
Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. That's just such a conundrum of opposing views that are represented by 2 parties, which I don't think makes sense.
And we'll see if things start to change after this election, if other parties start to emerge and we go to a multi-party system, which is possible, especially if
it may even be inevitable. If you take the rest of the world and how democracies have come about, Israel, there's multiple parties with multiple interests. You got to create a coalition in a government to get anything done. So we'll see what happens. With that being said, to wrap things up, our weekly Schmuck of the Week, it's actually going to be a company. It's the Royal Cruise Line that came out of New Jersey, right? 4,000 people on this cruise ship and left New Jersey, went into a Category 4 hurricane.
That's insane.
And I guess they have like the top level where people are told for 24 hours, go into your cabins and don't move.
That's scary.
Like the waves were so high, they were going over the top windows of the top cabins in the cruise ships.
That's insane.
So people are going, hey, when they finally got back, everybody's saying, thank God. You know, I'm sure there's some throw up and some stuff. People were like,
oh yeah,
just everywhere. Seasickness was rampant.
Yeah.
But so they get back, everybody's like, no, we're not going to do it. We're never going to cruise again. So what Royal Airlines do?
Royal
Cruise Lines, they comp their ride and give them 50% off the next cruise.
Yeah, they're
coming back. They're coming back.
They're definitely coming back.
Would you come back?
No, I've never been on a cruise.
I've never been on a cruise.
I don't plan to go on one.
I honestly, I wouldn't. I don't have a desire to go on a cruise.
I've heard too many horror stories about it, and maybe it's because we live by the ocean, but I've just heard too many cruise horror stories where I'm like, it seems kind of claustrophobic, being stuck on a ship.
You have no land. You can't, like, obviously you go port to port, but what if I want to stay at that place for a little bit longer? You know, you have limited freedom.
Yeah, it just really
and we're all
doesn't
about
sound
freedom
good to me.
here, so.
Yeah, cruises aren't our thing.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining Andrew and I. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to us. If you enjoyed listening to this episode and want to support the show, we ask if you would please leave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Even one review has a huge impact on our rankings. It helps more millennials like yourself find the show and give us a higher ranking in iTunes. The biggest compliment you can give Andrew and I is recommending this show to a friend.
Each week, we're giving away a t-shirt to someone who leaves us a 5-star rating and review. This week, the t-shirt is going to Lex Glenn. So if you're listening, Lex Glenn, please send an email to andrew@lovebeingamerican.com with your name and address, and we'll ship you a shirt. Make sure you visit our website, lovebeingamerican.com, during the week to read our blog posts, listen to past episodes, and send us any questions or concerns that you may have. With that being said, I'm Andrew.
I'm Henry.
And we love being American.